Video, we're going to learn how to calculate percents when we know a number out of something else. So in this particular problem we have, it says 14 is what percent of 25? Okay, so we're wanting to figure out what percentage 14 is out of 25. Now what we've learned all year is that this fraction bar actually means divide, but it can also mean the words out of, okay? So when you're figuring out percents or something in 6th grade called proportions and ratios, you're going to be using this fraction bar and it's called out of. So we just set up the sentence like it says up here, except we're going to set it up as a fraction. So 14 out of 25 would be 14 out of 25, which also means 14/25. Now we've learned this year that that fraction bar actually means divide. So now we can take our calculators and we can take 14 and we can divide it by 25. And this is the decimal number that means the same thing as 14 out of 25. Now that's just the decimal number. Now how you make that into a percent, which like your grades, a percent actually means out of 100. So it's real easy. So after we've divided 14 by 25 and we get 56 hundredths, then what you do is you times it by 100 because percent means out of 100. So that means that 14 is 56% out of 25. So we could put 56 in there. Okay? I'll back that up. So 14 is 56% of 25. So we set it up as a fraction, we divided it, and then we times it by 100 because a percent means out of 100. So let's try another one here. We have 48 is what percent of 54? So we're going to put 48 on top, 54 on the bottom. Then we use our calculator, and just like this thing means, this means divide. Okay, so we're going to take our calculator and we're going to do 48 divided by 54. And we get a big long decimal, repeating decimal like that. Then we times it by 100 because 100 it means, or a percent means out of 100, and we get 88.8 repeating percent. So if we rounded that up to the nearest percent, it would be 89%. Okay, so if we put our answer in here, this one would be 89%. Okay, 48 is 89% of 54. So let's try another one. Okay, now this one's just written a little different, but it's exactly the same problem. What percent of 75 is 32? So we set it up as a fraction first. So we're talking 32 out of 75. Okay, well, that fraction bar means divide. So that means we're going to take 32 divided by 75 equals, and there's our decimal number. And then percent means times that by 100, which basically means we're moving the decimal over 2 spots to the right. So if we round this to the nearest ones place, 42.6 repeating would be 43%. Okay, so if we did this here, 43% of 75 is 32. Okay, let's try one more. What percent of 43 is 15? Okay, so we set it at as a fraction first. 15 out of 43. Then we divide it, because that's what the fraction bar means. 15 divided by 43. There's our decimal number. And then we want percent, so that means we're going to times it by 100. So our percent rounded to the nearest ones place would be 35%. 35% of 43 is 15. Okay, so that's how you figure out percents when you know how much you're talking about and out of how many.